Well, thanks for agreeing to be one of our interviewees among our SALT Scholar alums. So, as we get started, if you will share your name, major, and then the year you graduated.
Okay, so thanks for having me. So my name is Dinh. I graduated in 2016 as a nursing major. So yep, it's been a
That's great.
while, almost 5 years.
Wow, I'm surprised. Almost five
Well,
years.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's gonna be 4 years in this year, in
sure,
August. Yeah,
sure. That's
yep,
great.
yep.
So tell us a little bit about where are you now? Your background, your digital background maybe can give a clue, but tell us where you are and what are you up to these days?
So right now I'm living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm currently working as a nurse practitioner. I work for the nephrology division at University of New Mexico Hospital. I'm responsible for patients with chronic kidney disease as well as transplant. We do kidney transplant here. And then recently, I'm also a volunteer to work with the COVID testing center. Because we the academic and also a state hospital, so we asked to be responsible to help out with the pandemic and all that. And my background, well, if you guys haven't known, Albuquerque known to have like the largest balloon fiesta in the US. Sadly, due to the pandemic, they postponed it until next year. So, yep. But it's a Rio Grande with the Sandia Mountain in the background. Yep.
That's great. That's
Yep.
great. I love it. So talk to us about your SALT Scholar project back in 2015, 2016. Were you working on that? What was the focus of your project? What did you do in that effort?
So my project, when I was at Lipscomb, basically I focused on starting a health clinic from the ground up. So I work with the community healthcare provider along with the Lipscomb University School of nursing faculty. It's Miss Frida Fuller to assess the health needs of the North Nashville community and establish a freestanding health clinic that serve a diverse patient population. And the main thing was I developed a handbook of the regulatory requirement for starting a health clinic. So, yep.
That's great. So
Yep.
working with North Nashville, doing kind of health assessment, seeing a community clinic could benefit them, and then figuring out where would you even begin. So
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
awesome. That's
Yep.
awesome. So from your time at Lipscomb, and now that you're able to reflect back almost 5 years out from graduation, what benefits did you see from doing SALT projects? Including your SALT Scholar project, what
Mhm.
what benefits did you find were something that enriched your experience, and then even now at this day you look back on and found it beneficial?
So, I learned a lot through all of those experience, and I feel like every experience bring a lot to the table. But I think the biggest key working as a healthcare provider that I appreciate the most is the interdisciplinary collaboration skills and the creativity. So you have to think outside the box to come up with the unconventional ideas to solve the problem, because it's not like, I have to say, each pupil or each problem that you go with, it's not like gonna be a cookie cutter. So you have to be able to kind of like use your past experience, but also have to modify it somehow so that you can come with a solution for that specific problem or like the project that you're going with. And then I feel like with all of the experience I were able to gain from Lipscomb and Salt, I confident to leave my comfort zone and be a part of the change. So uh, when I with the Salt, like I wasn't living in North Nashville, but then being unfamiliar, but then we'll be able to be a part of it and willing to serve and meet the health need to those living out there, because healthcare is expensive. I mean, working healthcare provider, I know it's expensive. And then I was living in Nashville for 7 years, and then took a risk to come to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to work as a brand new healthcare provider. And New Mexico is one of the poorest states. in the US. And then I work with like one of the most vulnerable population, chronic kidney disease and transplant, thing that it's not cheap to take care of, and then have to be able to utilize what I have and then navigate through the complicated healthcare system to be able to give the patient the best care that they deserve. So I think summarize pretty much it like interdisciplinary collaboration skill, creativity, and also be able to willing to be a part of the change too. Yep.
That's awesome. Thanks, Young. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like this idea that, life is more complex
Mhm.
than just having a cookie cutter response. Life is not a multiple choice exam. There's a lot more complexity to it.
No.
And
No.
so having these experiences exposes you to the complexity of issues, and it requires different disciplinary perspectives, as you said. But then, even beyond that, if you get some experience working outside of just a classroom based learning environment, it helps you know that, like, okay, I can be successful in a
Yep.
different place, in a different city. I can be successful as a professional because I've had some past experience. So
Mhm.
that's really awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, so what have been some unexpected things that you have navigated after graduating from Lipscomb? And what do you wish you had known when you finished your bachelor's degree that might have helped you transition to your next phase?
So I probably go with your second part first. So like thing I wish I knew at graduation, even though I was luckily found a job before I even graduated, but I and I think professor kind of mentioned it when we are in school, but I think I wish I knew and like work more is like networking. Like networking is rather professional social networking is a big deal. So I would say like make a business or like throw yourself out there to the world so that it make it a little easier wherever you go. But then thing that I have learned unexpected is like sure I feel like I landing the perfect job oftentimes doesn't come with everything and everybody that you're working with going to be perfect. And again, back to like you have to be able to work in the big group. Interdisciplinary collaboration is a big thing, but it's still know it, but then still feel very challenged to do it some day to day. And then self care plays a major role in the self preservation personally because healthcare provider burnout is a real thing. It's a real thing, and especially with pandemic. I mean, I would never have thought that 4 year out of graduation from bachelor and then 2 year out from master are gonna be a part of the pandemic as a healthcare provider. So self-care is important so that I will be able to go through this difficult time, but also provide the care that my patient deserves to have. And then take my time and remember doing that also, reflect on why I chose to do what I'm doing. So that because I feel like this is my vocation. It's not just a job, and I want to do it until I'm unable to do it anymore. And I'm thinking more like physical, not like mentally.
Sure.
Yep.
That's great. That's
Yep.
great. Yeah. The importance of networking, the importance of being reminded why we're doing what we're doing,
Mhm.
caring for yourself in the whole process, all of that is really important. That's
Yep.
great.
Yep.
So, from your SALT experiences as an undergrad, what skills or abilities did you develop through those projects that have helped you since graduation?
Uh, research. That's a big thing, and I never would have thought I'll be like a research and all that. But I mean, again, when doing the project when I was like I had to like go through stuff that usually it's just not available on the textbook that required in classes, right? And then communication again when you research you're gonna have to find stuff where you don't normally go for. So then you have to communicate or like find out, talk to somebody that might might know of an expert. So you able to do that. And then last but not least, I think it's have a lot of organization skill. So that's a, I would say that's a three biggest one, because again, regardless where you are, to make it far in your career or make it far in whatever you do, I think be able to communicate effectively and then willing to in order to think outside the book, often inside the box of book, oftentimes require that you have to read outside of what required in classes so that you can think more than just that. And then you have to organize what you find and what you know so that you be able to form your own knowledge and your own understanding and perspective.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's excellent. Thinking about where do you get good information? How can you
Hmm.
find good information? Thinking about your SALT Scholar project of how do you open a community clinic. You weren't reading about that in your textbook. You had to go find out that information elsewhere.
Hmm.
And then thinking about how do you organize information so then you can communicate it to other people in a way that's really usable and helpful. I think all of those are really good pieces of advice.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other words of wisdom or advice for students who are currently at Lipscomb? Things that you would suggest to them since you've got some perspective in the time that you've had since graduation?
Well, so for me, I'm a very driven person, individual. So for me, like thing that I'm always living by is nothing is impossible as long as you work hard by putting your mind, heart, and soul to it. Because and oftentimes, like when I read through Bible, that model that I live actually really like come very close to that what was mentioned in the Colossians 3:23, which is whatever you do, you work heartily and you do it for the Lord, but not for man. So you do it by doing it not because of like I want to be a soft scholar, but I want to learn. I want to be a part of the change. I want to like improve myself so that I can be the best servant in God's kingdom. That's that pretty much that what I would recommend any student, you know, who just started their college career, because that will make them a I feel like make them a better student and put them stand out, but in the good way to the community that they're living in, or like those who gonna be graduate and gonna be into the real world, and it's gonna also make them like a better co-worker, a better um, member of the society that they're gonna be in.
That's
Yep.
great. Thank
Yep.
you.